Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Inside Artesian Football here on WREP 15 Sports. I'm your host, Eric Meyer, joined, as always, by Artesian head coach Carter Whitson. We've got a lot to talk about again on this week's episode of Inside Artesian Football. The Artesians travel down to Bloomington on Friday night and battle Bloomington South. We'll take a look at the highlights from that contest, and we'll also preview the Artesians Mid-State Conference opener here at Ciderwitz Field on Friday night as they battle the Greenwood Woodmen. Up first, though, Coach, let's talk a little bit about your second game of the season, your first road game of the year. I know it's kind of a learning experience for you. You're getting new experiences every week. How was that for you guys in terms of going on the road?
I think we handled it well. I think our kids were prepared. We were ready to go, had a better schedule. So playing down there wasn't a big deal to us. High school crowds aren't too loud, so it's not like we needed to go silent count or anything like that. So it was just a normal Friday night for us.
Let's when we talk about the Bloomington South contest, the Bloomington South matchup on Friday night, this is a South team that had come off of a tough defeat the week before. They came out early on, were able to score on that opening drive. Yeah,
they were, and we should have scored on our opening drive to be up 6-0 or 8-0. So it would have been a completely different game. But yeah, they're a team that got beat week one. We caught them at the wrong time because Coach Moriarty does a great job, and he had them ready to play week two because they were a little embarrassed of their outcome week one.
When you look at some of the game, and we're going to watch some highlights later on, but when we take a look at some of those highlights later on, we'll talk about some things specifically. But in the contest on Friday, what are some of your takeaways, positives, some things that maybe you guys need to work on both offensively and defensively?
Yeah, offensively we're doing exactly what we did week one. You know, we've had over 400 yards of offense both games, taking care of the ball without fumbling it, had a few interceptions that cost us Friday night, but what we're doing works until we're getting to the tight zone and down there by the end zone and we're not finishing plays. We're putting them in the right position. Guys just have to grow up and finish and make those plays.
And on the defensive side of the ball, they were able to get some yards. Quarterback ran for about 100 on some of the keepers. But what are some of the things, some of the takeaways defensively from the contest?
Yeah, defensively, our kids played hard still. I graded the film on Saturday or Sunday and was really disappointed in our missed assignments and not doing what we're coached or not being able to correct problems, but the effort was still there. The effort was outstanding, and we'll get the X's and O's figured out with the coaching staff and the kids getting more and more comfortable with their preparation.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights now from the contest on Friday night against the Bloomington South Panthers. If we can go ahead and roll those as we see here. And you'll see the Artesians on offense here to start.
Good inside zone there with Brandon Dodson. Brandon's getting back into the swing of things, running the ball really well. Travis Griffey handed it off to him and reading. Travis right there keeping it on an identical play. We have the ability to keep it, throw it, or hand it. So we're multi-dimensional without doing a whole lot. Little cross-cut zone right there with Brian Johnson. Brian had a good game at tight end with blocking. And then here's big points right here. This was awesome. Lane Bayard came in, stepped up as a senior, and was our short snapper for field goals. He put it right on the money, and Caleb does what he does. Another cross-cut zone right there with Brandon Dodson carrying the ball, punishing tacklers at the end. A very physical kid. Need to continue to have a stable of running backs that do that. Here's our defense gang tackling again. That's something that you want to see. You want to see 6, 7, 8, 9 guys in red helmets tackling the ball. Good job forcing the quarterback out of the pocket. Our defensive line is playing outstanding. They're playing every snap, and we need to find some guys that can come in and help them out to keep them fresh. But Chase Havlin, Ben Marino, Kyle Dawson, Logan Byram are playing awesome up front for us defensively. A little sprint out pass here that we had a little success on this last week against Bloomington. Ran it a handful of times. There's Andy Myers right there catching it. Corbin caught it a few times. Travis played really well. Matt Thomas with a great catch right there. What we're doing is we're catching the ball here. We're calling the right plays. We're getting in the right positions. Travis doesn't like it. He gets upfield. He's punishing tacklers. But we have to finish down in the red zone and the tight zone, and that's really been our big problem. Little play action right there to Corbin. Corbin had a great game with the ball in his hands. Still has to finish some touchdown catches, though. Here we are defensively with quarterback run game. Quarterback run game gave us some fits. He's a senior. He's a great player. And he didn't play very well week 1, and I think they had him turned around week 2, and he performed really well. Good timing right there on a stop route. There's Corbin finishing right there. Not one guy can tackle Corbin Williams. Got to continue to get him the ball in the open field. Good protection. O-line did a good job protecting. Still getting better in run blocking, but pass blocking, they are awesome. Giving Travis plenty of time. There's a little read right there. I think that's Isaac Osborne running the ball. Isaac ran really hard. Earned himself a little bit more playing time this Friday. I was really impressed with him. A little RPO action again, or we can hand it off, we can read it, or we can throw it out to guys if they're not covered. That's what Corbin does. Defensively, I challenged just after a few times when we couldn't get a stop and they scored. I challenged our guys. I said, I don't want to see bad effort. We'll get the scoreboard figured out offensively, but I need to see great effort. And our kids really stepped up defensively in the second half and played well. Here you can see us getting down to the 15 and the 20 again, and that's been our problem. Need to continue to fix that. Had a good answer here with a little sprint out. Even had some missed assignments. Didn't quite do it right at tailback and at O-line, but Travis made a play and Darius Stillman made a play, and we need to get more of those easy touchdowns. There's our defensive ends making plays right there. I don't know if that's Chase or Ben, but those two have been playing outstanding. Again, here's a little sprint out here to Corbin on a good easy check down, getting upfield, getting yards after catch. Those sprint outs help out our O-line because they're not just sitting there and blocking the same guy every time. It gives us the ability to go get some easier blocks, and then we can tempo the next play. Consistent, exactly what we're doing right there. This is an awesome play by Corbin Williams. Really wish he could go finish it and go score. I've challenged Travis to quit trying to run people over and go score so we can have big plays, not just first downs. We need some big play touchdowns. Josh Tomlinson right there making a great play. Josh played a really good game. Senior, really stepping up as a leader on the defensive side of the ball, doing great. And there's Xavier Chinitis coming in at the end, throwing a ball to Andy Myers. Those are two sophomores that we're excited about.
So you see some of the positives, some of the stuff that you've talked about here during the week and trying to get some things taken care of. But offensively, again, Travis throws for a pretty decent amount of yards. I know you'd like to see a little bit more. The running game seemed to have a little bit more success with a few more big plays than what you had in week number 1.
We're grinding out. We're doing the right things offensively. We questioned ourselves after week 1 against Guerin when we didn't score, and then we went back and watched the film and no, we're doing the right things. And then we did the same thing Friday night at Bloomington South. We ran our offense. We got the ball to check downs. We did a decent job of run blocking, and we're doing the right things. We have to just stress finishing, and kids got to grow up and make plays.
When you're looking at some of the highlights you're talking about, RPOs, can you explain to some of the people out there who may not understand what you're talking about, which is a term that's really commonplace now if you listen to anything?
RPO is the new age of football. It's run-pass option. So our offensive line thinks we're running it, the tailback thinks we're running it, but the quarterback has the ability, he has the option to throw a pass. So, you look at a lot of our stuff, our quarterback's either reading that defensive end or he's reading a linebacker, and he can go to a lot of different directions with football.
And that is the new age. If you watch any of the Sunday or the Saturday previews, the game day that'll be down in IU, people are talking about that RPOs and things along those lines.
It's kind of the new way.
So you guys are trying to incorporate some of that into it. You see some of those options offensively that you're able to do. What are some of the other things that you guys have maybe been working on? Again, not giving away too much, that you're trying to do and get in as you head towards really, like we've talked about in show number 1, hey, it's great to get wins, it's great to do everything, but you're really looking to build momentum towards the end of the season. So what are some of the things offensively we're trying to work on?
Yeah, the word would be finish. We had some really good days of practice this last week of competing for the ball while it's in the air, some tight zone one-on-ones, really making kids fight and catch competitive footballs. And then up front wise, just really stressing finishing. Our kids know what to do now. We're comfortable in our offense, but they need to finish blocks. They need to punish guys. Or we could be really, really good up front if we just trust in ourselves and just attack. And that's really what we're stressing right now offensively.
How difficult is that to be able to get that coach, that mindset? I have that conversation with coaches up and down. Is it something you're born with? Can you teach it? Or a little bit of both?
You can teach it, but you can't teach it in a day. So we're on the right track. We're doing the right things. Our kids are believing in the system. But we also know, and we're smart enough to know that it's not going to be done in one day, and it's a process.
So you got to be patient. You'll have that patience, like we said, because everybody gets to play at the end of the year when the playoff time comes around. Let's flip it to the other side of the football and talk about the defense as well. Stellar performance in week number 1. Week number 2, South was able to get some plays and some things along there. Your assessment of the defense and things that you need to continue to work on to be successful defensively.
Yeah, we've really gone back and looked at some things we were doing defensively. When I interviewed here in December, I told the interview panel we were going to run a 4-4 cover 3, 4-4 cover 1 defense, and we kind of got away from our identity last week, and our kids were a little bit confused. You could just tell by them not playing fast, they were thinking, and defensively you don't need to think, you just need to play fast and trust in your preparation. So we've really gone back to the drawing board of let's be basic, let's be simple, let's know our assignments, and our kids can get the job done if they just know their assignments.
Speaking of assignments, that's something I'm sure you preach this week with assignment football with Greenwood coming to town, a team that'll run kind of the veer offense. They've changed. They've been a running team. Their quarterback throws it a little bit more than he has in the past, but traditionally it's a Greenwood team that will run the football. What's your assessment of the Greenwood Woodmen?
Yeah, that's exactly what they are. That's who they want to be. They want to be bigger and stronger and run you over and run the veer out of the I formation. They'll get in a little split back and also run the veer with one big fullback and one running back. But it's assignment football defensively. We got to know who has the dive, who has the quarterback, who has the pitch every play, and we got to get guys on the ground because they're going to make some plays. That's what triple option does. It really makes you work and makes you focus. But we need to tackle them and make them snap it again, see if they can consistently do it all night.
And you explained it a little bit, but again, for people that don't know the veer, it's talking about the dive, you're talking about the quarterback, you're talking about the pitch, but can you explain a little bit about what people will see offensively out of Greenwood?
Yeah, it is old school triple option. Triple option, the first option is for him to hand it to the fullback. The second option is for him to keep it, the quarterback. And the third option, if somebody comes for the quarterback, he can pitch it to the tailback. So it's true triple option offense. They will spread it out. They have a good quarterback, and if we can stop the run, they're not scared to spread it out a little bit and try and throw it. Watching some games of theirs last year, some people really held them rushing the ball, and that's what gave people a chance to beat them.
When you look at Greenwood as well, and you can watch them on film, you talked about your team finishing some plays. They've got in one of their tailbacks, their quarterback maybe to an extent, but they've got some home run hitters, if you will, especially back there in the backfield that can take one play and take it.
Yeah, they do. They've got a little tailback that is low center of gravity, will run you over. We got to do a good job of gang tackling him, and he can break it if he gets into the open field. And then the quarterback's kind of how they go, very similar to last week. When he plays well, they play well. When he doesn't, they don't.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to see them do defensively. They've got a kid in the middle that'll be going to Army, linebacker that's been there for a couple of years. But what are you going to see defensively out of Greenwood?
They're going to be a bend but not break defense. They play 4-3, cover 4, 3 linebackers that kind of rotate in between field and boundary, and we're going to try and affect them a little bit that way. But they're the old school version of Texas Tech's defense, to where they'll let you take some hitches, let you take some stops, let you run the ball a little bit, but they're not going to give up the big play. That way they can get back on offense and really grind it out.
And that's for you guys where you're going to have to try to combat, because you're trying to hit that big play and hit that big runner against them. So knowing some of the things that you're going to see, what are you guys going to have to do? We'll start on the offensive end. What are you going to have to do offensively to try to get some points up on the board and finish some drives?
Yeah, we're really going to have to run the ball well. That starts everything with us. If we can run the ball well, then they'll start focusing on that, and then we can get the ball to our playmakers on the outside, and they need to do a great job outside of finishing plays, whether it's the ball's in their hands or whether they're catching it or whether they're blocking outside. We need to do a better job on the perimeter of just finishing plays.
And defensively, you talked about the triple option that they're going to do. Assignment football, I'm sure that's been the preaching point, the key here this week as well.
That's right. Assignment football, stop the run, tackle them, make them snap it again.
All right, so the Greenwood Woodmen coming to town. You got to be excited. It's the Mid-State Conference opener on Friday.
Really excited to see what we've got.
And you've got the Greenwood Woodmen coming to town for Friday night football as the Artesians will be battling the Woodmen, the Mid-State Conference opener. 7 o'clock kickoff set for Ciderwitz Field out there. Get out there and support the Artesians. Coach, we appreciate you joining us again this week. That's Artesian head coach Carter Whitson here inside Artesian Football. Martinsville, Friday night at home against the Greenwood Woodmen. I'd like to thank the head coach for coming in for Coach Whitson, along with the advanced broadcasting class that produced it. I'm Eric Meyer. We'll see you again next time inside Artesian Football.
Hey!